So how does your brain work when you're speaking? How does your brain work when you're feeling anxious? When you are speaking too fast, or perhaps even when you're stuttering or blocking? So we've been talking about that in our series, and we've been using something called the CAR framework. We've already talked about how to control your cortex, your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of our brain, that's the command center. It's where your intentions and your decisions are controlled. It's the source of your decisions and the commands that you give to the rest of your body and to your brain. So today we're going to be talking about how to adjust your amygdala. And actually, what we're really going to be talking about is how to calm your amygdala. So let's talk about what is the amygdala. The amygdala is that part of our brain that essentially and or primarily controls our emotions, and specifically fear and anxiety or stress, right? So whenever you and I are feeling anxious or afraid or stressed, it's something that we call our stress response. And what this does is this is activated by, and you can see it reflected in our amygdala. So when we become anxious about an upcoming speaking situation, or we have to introduce ourselves, or we have to give a presentation, whatever, before a group, or we have to meet with our boss, and we start to feel anxious and nervous, that's our amygdala. So specifically, we're going to talk about a couple of things that we can do, very, very simple things to what? To calm our amygdala. Because here's what happens if you don't calm your amygdala. It actually starts to take over. And what it does, in part, is it can cause your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain, to become very cloudy. And so that's why when a lot of people become anxious or nervous, they start to forget what it was that they wanted to say. Even if they've memorized it, they've prepared for it, unless they have it written, they can forget. But it can also hinder, and it can sometimes even prevent, but it can definitely hinder, and it can interfere with our ability to speak smoothly. Because what it does is it not only starts to send signals to our prefrontal cortex that we're struggling, we're having problems with our speech, this happened to us before. So it sends signals back to the prefrontal cortex, but it also sends signals to Broca's area. And Broca's area is that part of our brain that's primarily responsible for speech production. So when Broca's area is receiving these emergency signals, the fight or flight or stress response from the amygdala, then it interferes with smooth speech. Okay, so, and it also affects another area called the basal ganglia, which kind of automates everything. So the more you and I allow ourselves to feel anxious and nervous before, during, and maybe even after speaking, the more we're actually wiring in that kind of speech. We're wiring in that behavior into our basal ganglia. So it just happens automatically. The more the more Broca's area gets used to that kind of interference, that kind of speech. And it kind of has a backflow effect, because then we start to think and believe and send signals to different parts of our brain that says, I'm going to have problems. I've always had problems. I'm not a great speaker. So you see how this all works. So here are a couple of very simple things that you and I can do to calm our amygdala. And this not only applies to speech, but it can apply to anything where you're feeling that fight or flight or stress response. And that is breathing, right? Deep breathing. So we do something called the 777, but you can do any combination of that. You can do a 4-3-5 or whatever the numbers are. The idea is to inhale, that is to take in a deep breath at a controlled pace, at a controlled pacing, right? So you're breathing in, preferably through the nose, and you're counting to, for example, 7. Now, some people have a problem getting up to 7 because they're taking in too much air too quickly, right? So once you learn how to slow down and control your breathing so that you can breathe in at a count of 7 or more, or something close to 7, then the next step is to hold that breath, and then you release it through the mouth for a count of 7. Now, obviously, or not obviously, but sometimes you're able to release it for a longer period of time than 7 seconds. So you could actually do a 7, 7, 7, 7, right? So basically, we're just going to simplify it and say 7, 7, 7. So you breathe in for a count of 7, hold for a count of 7 if you can, and then you release through the mouth for a count of 7. So all of this does primarily two things. Number one, it relaxes you. It gives you a greater flow of oxygen, which our brains need in order to think clearly, in order to operate. We need it in order to live, right? And you also need it in order to speak. But it not only relaxes you, but it also helps with your speech, right? So the more air that you have in your system, the more power you have to drive your speech, right? We talk about airflow. So you need enough air in your system in order to drive your speech. So you can do something called diaphragmatic breathing, where you're breathing from your diaphragm. So deep breathing, and there's, again, various ways that you can do this. You may not like the 7, 7, 7. You may want to do something else. But deep breathing before, to calm your amygdala. During, how do you do it? During, how do you hold your breath while you're speaking? What you do? While you're speaking, what you want to remember to do is to take in more frequent and deeper breaths. And so you can do this when you pause. I did a series called Pies. Pause, inhale, exhale, and slow down. So essentially, we can group those into three things: pausing, breathing, and slowing down. So you want to remember, when you're speaking, slow everything down, pause a bit more, and in and during those pauses, you want to take in deeper breaths than what you normally would. And what this does is it helps to calm the amygdala, and it helps to give your brain, to kind of replenish your brain with the oxygen it needs in order to think clearly, right? So you're able to think more clearly and you're starting to feel calmer, right? Which then kind of activates and is activated by our parasympathetic nervous system, which then allows us to kind of lower that heart rate and reduce, if not eliminate, the stress response. All right, so deep breathing. The other action that you can take, strategy or technique, is body relaxation. So you can just start to relax your body. You can start from your feet and work your way up, or start from your head and work your way down. Again, there's various ways to do this. You can pick and choose whichever one you like. But you can begin to relax the different parts of your body, like your feet, your toes, your calves, your thighs, your buttocks, right? Your stomach area, your chest, your shoulders. Often we carry a lot of stress in our shoulders. So you can begin to relax your shoulders down. Your arms, relaxing your arms and your fingers, relaxing your neck and your throat. Because when we become stressed, it often activates or causes a lot of tension, a lot of tension. So the calmer and the more relaxed we are, often the smoother we're able to speak. And so once we do this, once we continue to do this, we wire in this new behavior that whenever I speak, I feel calm and relaxed. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't speak and that you can't have energy and enthusiasm, because we should. We can be dynamic, but still be relaxed, still be calm. All right. So full body or partial body relaxation. Relax those muscles down, relax the jaws, relax the mouth, relax the eyes, relax the face, right? And when you do that, this also allows you to calm the amygdala. Now, there are several other ways that you can relax yourself down and calm down, but I'm just going to share those two with you. Essentially, what you want to do is do some research and find out different ways you can very, very quickly relax your body. Breathing is absolutely a must, but then there's also body relaxation. All right, so I hope that this was helpful. Very, very important that you be aware that you need to understand what's happening when you're feeling anxious and nervous, and that this can happen that is before you speak. Sometimes it happens to people for days, right? They know that they have something that's coming up. They start to feel anxious for days. Sometimes it can be for hours or minutes or seconds. And then what is it that you need to do while you're speaking? How can you relax yourself down? All right. Now, I'm actually just going to throw in another one. One of the things that you can do, in addition to breathing, when you're speaking, is to make sure that you have good posture and that you're moving your body, like you're using your body, not sitting there stiff. A lot of people are sitting there stiff and tight. You don't want to do that because what you're doing is you're kind of enhancing the stress response because you're so tense. When you move, you're expending a little bit of energy, right? You're releasing some of that energy. You're creating kind of a flow. You're moving, and so you're more relaxed. You're also a little more in control when you're in control of the movements of your body. You also can speak what I call proactively. So you use your body, use your face, use your mouth, enunciate, articulate, use your eyebrows, use your head, right? Use your body when you're speaking. This releases a little bit of stress, releases some energy, makes you feel more in control and relaxed, and therefore helps to calm or adjust, right? You're adjusting it, but you're calming it, calm your amygdala. Thank you so much. My name is Michael Williams. Please go ahead and subscribe to our channel and make sure that you also check out our podcast. We'll have links for you in or around this video. We'll see you in the next video.